Good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown. We are so happy that you are with us this morning. At the Meeting House, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person and support each other in our spiritual search for truth and meaning. We welcome you. We support you. This morning, as spring is upon us, we are grateful that our own Reverend Bill Clark will be giving the sermon today. The title is, "The Earth is the Body of God." Reverend Kate will be with us again next Sunday, as this is her day off. As we light our candle, our chalice here, please join us by lighting a candle where you are, and that way we are together in a way, even though we are apart.
Good morning, and welcome to the online service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown. I am so happy that you decided to join us this morning. I am the Reverend Bill Clark, a community minister attached to the Meeting House, and actually this is the first Unitarian Universalist church I ever entered. To say that this has changed my life would definitely be an understatement. We begin our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith. We do this in brotherhood and sisterhood with other UU congregations around the globe. And today, we light our chalice in honor of the great Mother Earth. Friday will be the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. So we light our chalice with these words by Reverend Barbara Peskin for the beauty of the earth.
For the beauty of the earth.
This spinning blue-green ball, yes.
Gaia, mother of everything.
We walk gently across your back.
To come together again.
In this place.
To remember how we can live.
To remember who we are.
To create how we will be.
Gaia, our home.
The lap in which we live.
Welcome us.
I invite you to recite our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this meeting house. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear you calling.
Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light.
Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory.
Earth, teach me caring as parents who secure their young.
Earth, teach me courage as the tree that stands all alone.
Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground.
Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle which soars in the sky.
Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall.
Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring.
Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life.
Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain.
Second reading this morning is from the book The Body of God by Sally McFaig. In the beginning was the Big Bang. As matter expanded from that initial singularity, it cooled. After a few days, the world was no longer hot enough to sustain universal nuclear interactions. At that moment, its gross nuclear structure got fixed at its present proportions of 3/4 hydrogen and 1/4 helium. Expansion and other further coolings continued. Eventually, gravity condensed matter into the first generation of galaxies and stars. In the interior of these first stars, nuclear cookery started up again and produced heavy elements like carbon and iron, essential elements for life, which were scarcely present in the early stages of the universe's history. Some of these first generation stars and planets condensed in their turn. On at least one of them, there were now conditions of chemical combustion and temperature and radiation permitting, through the interplay of chance and necessity, the coming into being of replicating molecules and life. Thus, evolution began on the planet Earth. Eventually, it led to you and me. We are all made of ashes of dead stars. Here ends the readings. I learned about the Earth from the astronauts. It was through their eyes I got a glimpse of the true beauty of this planet. Truth be told and age be known, it was John Glenn's 3 orbits around the Earth that really caught my attention. I remember sitting and watching the liftoff on our black and white tube television in awe at his courage and an anxious anticipation of the pictures of just what Earth looked like from space. I remember writing him a letter congratulating Glenn on his journey. In return, I received a colored autographed picture of him along with a picture of the Earth from outer space. I was thrilled. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen these pictures. The perfectly round-shaped Earth with darkened land formations and deep blue oceans seemingly afloat in the vastness of black space. It's an awe-inspiring picture. It is a sacred symbol. It is a profound portrait of what 20th century theologian Sally McFay calls the body of God. In her book, The Body of God, McFay offers a unique theological lens into which to view the Earth and the ecological problems facing this planet. It's what she calls a marriage of science and theology. Science can be theology's partner, states McFay, by suggesting ways we can see ourselves living in one world and by warning us how we must change our behavior for the future well-being of this world. The author calls us into right relationship with this body, Earth, as she warns of the slow deterioration of our planet's ecological systems. It is a profound wake-up call. It becomes a cry for justice. It becomes the embodiment of our 7th principle, the inherent, the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In the year 1870, yes, that's 1870, poet and novelist Victor Hugo wrote, "It is a sad thing to think that nature speaks and that mankind does not listen." At a time when biodiversity, the fragile web of life of which we are all a part, threatens to disintegrate, we must not forget that we are, in many aspects, the authors of our own misfortune. That was written in 1870. Basically, what I hear him saying is, it's up to us. It's true, people often think of ecological devastation as a flora and fauna issue, a planet and animal issue rather than a people issue. The full truth, McFay reminds us, is that we cannot live without the planet, animals, and the ecosystems that support us all. So the ecological issue is a people issue, and most especially a justice issue. For ecology, the environment, the home we share, is a finite one. If justice means most basically fairness, then ecology and justice are intertwined. For on our finite planet with limited resources to support its many different kinds of being, both human and non-human, sharing fairly is an issue of the highest priority. In a recent newspaper column, this issue of sharing fairly was addressed in an article on the world's amphibian population. It appears that frogs, toads, and other amphibians have been vanishing rapidly since the 1980s. This is of deep concern to environmentalists because amphibians are now more vulnerable than any other creature on Earth, and they are considered the canary in the coal mine for environmental damage. The overall state of the environment is of deep concern to scientists, citizen, and now thanks to McFay, also theologians. Viewing the earth as the body of God gives us a theological lens to address these environmental concerns. This deterioration has been compared to an alcohol or drug addiction. The effects creep us on us slowly, daily, so that we become used to them, rather than announcing a more destructive in the glaring headlines they deserve, war declared on earth. Like an addiction, ecological deterioration is insidious. We become used to the smell of automobile exhaust fumes and open landfills. We become accustomed to children playing on city sidewalks devoid of grass and trees. We become inured to tall trees and open spaces being felled to make room for more suburban sprawls, office buildings, and shopping malls. We become so used to the diminishment, so accustomed to environmental decay, that many are even denying this is occurring. In a study by the Millennium Ecological System Assessment, 1,300 specialists in 95 nations concluded a rising human population has polluted or overexploited 2/3 of the ecological systems on which life depends, ranging from clean air to fresh water, all in the past 50 years. The assessment concludes human activity is putting such a strain on the natural functions of the earth that the ability of the planet's ecosystem is sustained future generations can no longer be taken for granted. Earth, teach me. And yet we are receiving painful lessons from Mother Earth. The effects of the burning of fossil fuels and the greenhouse gases that release CO2, carbon dioxide, into the Earth's atmosphere is attributing effect to global warming. So embracing the model of ecological theology, we step out of the fixed relationship of human beings to God and begin here with an earthly context, our interrelationship and interdependence with all the creatures on our planet. The model thus becomes an earth up rather than a sky down perspective. We begin as earth as our home, our place, our space to share. We share it with other human beings, other animals, and the natural world. This is a radical notion to McFay, who states that many religious practices have often not been allowed to feel at home on earth. Convinced after centuries of teachings on their otherworldliness, religions have often centered their teachings that we humans really belong elsewhere, in heaven. Their concern is not about this life, rather it's about the next life, or the next plane of existence. This view then embraces the stance that we are merely aliens, tourists, or lords of the manor of this earth. Yes, we inhabit this place, but do not consider it our only, let alone our beloved home. McFay places before us the radical notion of seeing the earth as the body of God, not as separate from God who dwells elsewhere, but as the invisible reality of an invisible God. Her theology begins right here on earth. First, this is a theology of embodiment, the notion of the divine as having a body. Second, it gives the concept of God as a more intimate nature. The divine, the holy, the sacred is right here with us and not transcendent above us. And third, that our relationship to God is deeply rooted in our relationship to this planet. Our connection and love for earth defines this relationship to God. McVeigh's ecological theology calls us into right relationship with Mother Earth. This morning we heard two different versions of the creation story. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning was the Big Bang. No matter which story you are more comfortable embracing, the meanings, I feel, are the same. Both stories are about our relationship to Mother Earth. The book of Genesis is often cited as the only creation story, which is one widely accepted by many theologians. The Big Bang Theory says plainly and eloquently, we are all made of ashes of dead stars. We are all connected. The question remains, how do we live in right relationship with the earth? The answer reminds me of a story of the great Mahatma Gandhi. It seems a mother and her son had traveled a very long distance to come to see Gandhi. When they arrived at the great man, the mother said to Gandhi, please, you must tell my son to stop eating sugar. It is destroying his health. He won't listen to me, but he really respects you. And if you told him to stop, he would stop. Gandhi sat silently for a long while without responding. He then returned to the woman and said, you'll have to come back in a week. The woman walked away upset because they had come such a long way. But a week later, she was back and she repeated the plea to the great spiritual learnee. Gandhi turned to the boy and told him he should stop eating sugar and take care of his body. When he was finished talking with the boy, the mother, completely perplexed, asked, why couldn't you have told them last week and saved us all this traveling? Gandhi replied, why? Because last week I was eating sugar. You see, my friends, this is the dilemma I am facing, and perhaps you are too. I know this earth is our sacred home, and yet what can I do to protect it and to ensure her health and well-being? In many ways, I am still eating sugar. I do recycle. I do not litter. I don't go cutting down trees and building huge homes for my own satisfaction. And yet surely I can do more. Surely we can all do more. If I attempt to at least simplify my life in some way, is that not helping protect the earth? How can we live out our relationship to earth with integrity and still satisfy our hunger for sugar? As it was stated on the first Earth Day celebration in 1970 and restated again at the 25th anniversary in 1995, April 22nd seeks a future worth living. And my friends, this is the answer I seek. This is why we gather today. We gather for a future worth living, where science and theology are united in the holiest of unions. A future where we're called into right relationship with our planet and held up accountable for her care and continued well-being. This union becomes a marriage of faith, for it is taking that future worth living and placing it within the context of that faith worth practicing. It becomes faith in action. We care for our planet Earth because we are in relationship with the life force. Earth, teach me. So what does all this mean? You may be asking yourself. There's been a lot of God talk in this sermon. I thought you were going to talk about the earth. And yes, I am. And the good news I bring you today is perhaps, just perhaps, they are one in the same. For today we envision the earth as the very body of God. Today is about reimagining the earth, this very planet, as our most holiest of places, as holy as any temple, as sacred as any shrine, and as wise as any holy scripture. For today is about the earth, the very body of God. It's about taking this idea of God, however you may understand it, and looking not out there or in here or up there, but down here, feeling the sacred presence of the most holy right under the ground we walk upon. My friends, may we search our hearts and minds to do whatever we can to keep the earth forever turning. May we go forth today with respect, care, and appreciation for the beauty of the earth. This is our miracle among miracles. Take care of her. Take care of Mother Earth. Blessed be, and amen.